No Escape. Written by Savage Tempest. Running a prison is like directing an opera. Every performer sings a tale of regret, and the final act is always about redemption or ruin. Alarms assaulted Warden Jason Voss's ears as he entered the prison's operations center. A symphony of holographic screens and blinking consoles greeted him as he entered the chaos. Kern Penal Colony, dustbin of a dwarf planet that it is, was his domain. Whichever prisoner or prisoners who had caused this alert would be sorry. This was absolutely the worst possible time to cause a ruckus.
Status report, Lieutenant.
Voss balked, his voice slicing through the noise.
And someone shut that damn alarm off.
The klaxon alarms vanished, along with the room's blinking red lights. Lieutenant Holmes, eyes wide with a mixture of apprehension and adrenaline, approached, datapad in hand.
Sir, it's Schaefer. He's taken a ship and...
Before Holmes could finish, the operations door slid open with a hiss, and in strode Advisor Miranda Capri, flanked by two armed guards. Her lovely blue eyes were two sharp points of accusation, set squarely on Voss.
I've lost contact with my ship, Warden. Care to tell me why?
Her voice was ice over steel, the cool disdain of someone who knew their worth and saw no one else matching it. Voss unclenched his jaw and met the advisor's glare. Advisor was a misnomer. The woman was here for Kern's yearly inspection and to cause trouble.
Advisor Capri, this is an unfortunate situation, but I assure you that we're handling it.
Handling it?
She scoffed, stepping closer to him, her gaze never wavering.
By letting your most notorious prisoner steal my star cruiser. This is beyond incompetence. This is a disaster.
How did she know about Schaefer and her stolen cruiser so fast? He would have to check to see if she accessed the colony's AI later, after he got this crisis under control. No prisoner has escaped Kern Penal Colony since its inception 500+ years ago. No way he would let Schaefer be the first. Not under his watch. Ignoring Capri for the moment, Voss turned to the array of screens showcasing the bleak expanse of space outside of Kern's confines.
Lieutenant Holmes?
Lockdown procedure is in place, sir.
Holmes swiped his left hand and called up a holo menu screen.
No one else is getting off this rock.
Capri folded her arms, her lips pursed in a grim line.
I want a full report on Schaefer's heading, and I demand to know the condition of my crew.
Voss motioned to Holmes, who quickly rattled off the details.
Looks like Schaefer's plotted a course for Earth.
Voss turned to Officer Leonelli, who was sitting at the command platform's far left.
What's the advisor's ship class?
It's an Astraeus-class star cruiser.
Capri cut in.
One of the fastest in the fleet, armed to the teeth.
Voss's eyes shifted back to Leonelli.
Can you detect any heat signatures on the advisor's ship?
4, sir. Voss turned back to Capri, noting that her two guards were still huddling close behind her.
Sorry, Advisor Capri, but we cannot allow the prisoner to escape.
You're going to destroy my ship.
I'm afraid we don't have a choice. Rubens, shoot that ship down, now.
Satellite turrets firing now, sir. The main screen took up a good third of the operations center's front wall, which made Voss's humiliation all the worse as everyone watched Capri's stolen star cruiser perform an intricate dance of evasion. Turret laser blasts, bright and unyielding, sizzled past the cruiser, each near miss a testament to prisoner Schaefer's skill.
He's actually dodging the lasers,
Lieutenant Holmes murmured. Sadly, Voss wasn't surprised. He had read Schaefer's records when the court-martialed captain first arrived at Kern. Now he was witnessing the pilot's skills firsthand. Schaefer always maintained his innocence, and Voss wouldn't be surprised if that were true. None of that mattered. Schaefer was now an escaped prisoner, and he was going to die today.
Your ineptitude, Warden.
hissed Advisor Capri.
Is costing me my ship, and this prison's sterling reputation.
Yes, Capri's ship was lost, but under no circumstances would he allow any prisoner to besmirch Kern's reputation. No one escaped from this prison, ever.
Sir,
Holmes looked nervous around Capri. Not that Voss blamed him.
all sections are reporting that prisoners are back in their cells, except for 2.
The light above the operations center entrance started blinking green. The 2 officers guarding the center's entrance tensed and raised their weapons as the door bisected. Entering into the operations center during the lockdown was strictly against protocol. A trio of guards hauled 2 prisoners into operations. The prisoners, dressed in blood-stained orange uniforms, were a stark contrast to the sleek but dated gray that made up Kern's nerve center. One prisoner boasted a spiderweb of scars crisscrossing his face and shaved head. The other prisoner was built taller and thicker than his comrade and looked just as mean. Officer O'Neill, slightly out of breath, spoke up. These 2 scumbuckets provided cover for Schaefer's little escape act. O'Neill gave both men another shove forward. Their wrists were shackled, but their demeanor remained defiant. Voss stepped down from the command platform to confront the prisoners. Advisor Capri and her 2 lapdogs were right there beside him. Voss focused on the prisoners.
Why?
He demanded, the single word hanging heavily in the charged air. The scarred one spat at Voss's feet, earning him a smack on the head from O'Neill. The prisoner bared his teeth at the officer before returning his scowl on Voss. Screw you, warden. Voss was surprised when the prisoner's companion spoke up. Schaefer promised us a way out, credits and freedom. That little omission earned the prisoner a snarl from his partner and Capri's knife sticking out of his chest. The poor slob's eyes went wide with disbelief before he crumpled to the floor. A room full of blasters were now pointed at the advisor. To their credit, Advisor Capri's guards had the good sense to aim both their pulse rifles at Voss. Still, Voss was secretly proud of the quick response of his people. Awaiting orders, Warden, O'Neill offered.
Well, Capri,
Voss said, a light smile on his lips.
should I have my men kill you now, or would you prefer a rapid-fire court-martial first?
Don't trouble yourself with either.
The advisor ignored the blasters aimed at her as she marched past Voss to the command station platform.
If this is the way you handle your big toys, I'm sure we'll both be disappointed.
Voss grabbed her by the arm before she made it to the platform.
Don't you ever again terminate anyone under my authority without my permission.
I'll be certain to mention that in my report.
Capri looked meaningfully down at Voss's hand. He released her.
Weapons away,
Voss pointed at Capri's 2 guards.
especially you 2.
The guards, burly brutes, looked to Capri, who offered a curt nod. The tension in the room relaxed slightly as her guards returned their rifles back to port-arms position.
O'Neill, take the prisoner to solitaire.
His gaze fell to Capri's victim, bleeding out onto his floor.
And clean up this mess.
Yes, Warden. Voss executed a perfect about-face and returned to the command platform, where Advisor Capri was doing her best to hog up all the space, despite there being more than enough room for 3 seated personnel and 3 standing. On the main screen, Capri's spear-shaped cruiser banked sharply, a laser grazing its hull. It was a move as desperate as it was brilliant, while still managing to exploit the satellite turret's recharge delay. Voss found himself clenching his jaw again. Schaefer was moments from the edge of the colony's turret's firing range. The final laser blast shot through the void, a last desperate attempt to prevent their impending failure. The beam of red light raced toward the fleeing ship, a brilliant line of destructive hope that ultimately passed harmlessly into space as Schaefer's stone ship slipped out of range, unscathed and unstoppable.
So, Warden.
Capri's words were pleasant, but her handsome face remained hard as ice.
What's your grand plan?
We communicate.
Officer Altman slid her chair over as Voss repositioned himself at the communications console.
And we reason with him.
Seconds later, Schaefer's voice crackled through the center speakers, a hint of amusement in his voice. Warden Voss. They could now see Schaefer's face, bedraggled and sweaty, but determined, his eyes never leaving his helm console. Enjoying the show? Voss leaned into the console, his eyes never leaving the screen that now showed Schaefer's face.
You were a good officer once, Schaefer. Do you really want to add kidnapping to your list of crimes?
The smirk on Schaefer's face didn't reach his eyes. Always a smooth talker, Warden.
I would hate to kill you, Schaefer.
You mean you hate to destroy this sweet little ship?
That too.
Voss could feel Capri's eyes boring into him. He ignored her.
You'll never make it to Earth, son, not in one piece.
Schaefer smiled. You might have a point there, Warden. The main screen flickered, then went black. Voss stepped back, his mind racing through tactics and possible outcomes.
What happened? Get him back.
Yes, sir.
Warden.
Voss almost didn't catch himself from snapping at Holmes. He took a deep breath.
Yes, Lieutenant?
The advisor's cruiser has just ejected a life pod.
Heat signatures?
3, sir.
Voss glanced at the readouts. It was true. In some ways, apparently, Schaefer was more humane than them, and they were the good guys. Maybe he could use that against Schaefer. Not likely, though, since Schaefer was still speeding away. Prisoner now out of turret range, Rubens reported. Damn. Capri turned to Voss, her blue eyes ablaze with a fire that might have been respect or fury. He suspected it was the latter.
Well, Warden, it seems your escaped convict has thrown down the gauntlet. What's your next move?
Kern Penal Colony's spotless reputation was on the verge of disaster. Same for his reputation. The green dot that signified Schaefer's ship was perilously close to the Nightfall Research Space Station. Not that Schaefer was planning to dock at the station. He was merely using it as a shield. Any missile strike against Schaefer put the research station at risk. Surely Schaefer knew this. So much for being an innocent victim.
Lionel, how long until he reaches nightfall?
20 minutes at current velocity, Warden. Voss stifled a curse. 300 innocent lives aboard that station, and one rogue prisoner was going to put every single one of them at risk just to save his own skin. It made Voss sick. Then a thought occurred to him. From what he knew about Schaefer, plus his recent experience with the man, Schaefer wouldn't put the lives of so many people at risk unless Schaefer felt confident that he wouldn't blast him to hell if it meant endangering so many innocents. It was a good gamble, but that didn't mean it would pay off. Without moving his gaze from the main viewing screen, Voss addressed Advisor Capri.
I'm open to suggestions, Advisor. Schaefer can't just walk free.
Capri's eyes, mirroring the coldness of space, met his.
If he escapes, you know the implications. For both of us.
Operations staff pretended to focus on their duties and consoles, but Voss had little doubt that they were tracking their conversation. Damn. His career had always been one of hard choices, but none like this, where action and inaction both carved a path to ruin.
Officer Rubens.
Voss hoped his voice sounded firmer than he felt.
Is Azoth ready to launch?
Armed and waiting for your command, Warden. The green dot moved closer to the Nightfall station. To destroy Nightfall was unthinkable, yet to do nothing. Voss took a deep breath, his decision clear in his mind, but heavy on his heart. But he didn't want to go down alone.
Advisor Capri, your judgment on this, please. Nightfall or letting Schaefer escape?
Don't you dare try to push your responsibilities off on me.
You are the highest-ranking officer on site.
Capri's blue eyes turned hard again.
I won't authorize the murder of civilians.
Apparently, she didn't like people throwing the gauntlet down at her feet either. To her credit, she recovered quickly.
How many?
Voss nodded at Lionel. 327, advisor. Capri gave them all her back, saying nothing. Voss didn't blame her. He didn't want to be the one to pull the trigger either. Voss tried not to think about his personal failures, the heavy expectations he never quite managed to fulfill, but he couldn't help it. Failure was staring him in the face.
Arm the Azoth, Officer Rubens.
Azoth armed, sir.
What does it do?
Capri's voice was uncharacteristically gentle.
The Azoth is the colony's long-range antimatter missile with the radius of a football field.
As good a pilot Schaefer is, he wouldn't be able to dodge the antimatter blasts. Neither would the research station. They both knew it. 327 lives in exchange for his career and Kern's reputation. Voss closed his eyes, just for a moment. He thought of his ex-wife's cutting words, of his father's disappointment. This would be one failure too many.
Prep the Azoth to fire, Rubens.
Yes, Warden.
On my mark.
There was no going back.
Mark.
Cancel that order.
Rubens looked to Voss, who had been watching Capri instead of the main viewing screen.
Do as the lady says.
Yes, Warden. Rubens pressed a few buttons, and it was done. Azoth, disarmed, sir. Voss glanced at the command console. The moving dot turned from green to red. Schaefer was now out of range.
Holmes, notify the Space Patrol of the prisoner's escape.
Yes, Warden.
Voss turned back to Advisor Capri. In the span of minutes, the woman had deteriorated into a shadow of herself. Her career was over, just like his.
You got any good liquor on this dumpy planetoid?
Actually, I happen to be the owner of a bottle of cognac that cost $200. In my quarters, I believe.
Capri appraised him with the eyes of a tired cat.
Guess I could do worse.
Because like any good opera, this story had to end with redemption or ruin. Maybe both. No Escape. Written by Savage Tempest.